It doesn't print money, it doesn't mint coins, it doesn't move a single dollar, and yet it controls almost every dollar that does move. One network, hidden from public view, invisible in everyday life, but powerful enough to cripple a country with a single decision. This is the story of SWIFT, the unseen backbone of global finance and the silent system that can unplug a nation from the world economy. When you send money abroad, what do you imagine? A wire traveling across the ocean? A digital packet sliding through servers? The reality is completely different. Banks don't actually send money, they send messages. One bank tells another, move this amount from our account to theirs. And almost all of these messages travel through one place, SWIFT. Over 11,000 financial institutions in more than 200 countries rely on it. More than 90% of international bank transfers depend on it. It is the silent operating system of global finance. To understand SWIFT, we go back to 1973. Back then, banks used telex machines, slow, noisy, and easy to hack. A simple $10,000 transfer could take days or even weeks. So 239 banks from 15 countries agreed on a bold idea: create a secure, standardized global system for financial communication. And with that, SWIFT was born. A quiet revolution very few people noticed. Most people assume SWIFT must belong to the United States, but officially, it doesn't. SWIFT is a cooperative, not a government agency. Every bank that uses it becomes a member. The more transactions a bank sends, the more voting power it has. At the top sits a 25-member board elected by member banks. They set strategy, they create rules, they present SWIFT as neutral, completely apolitical, at least on paper. Before we go deeper, a quick message from today's sponsor, the Alchemist, a smart trading assistant that analyzes markets, spots opportunities, and executes trades automatically. No hype, no guessing. Just data, strategy, and control. Check the link in the description and use the code SUIFT for 10% off. Now, back to the hidden machinery of global finance. SWIFT is headquartered in Belgium, which means it must follow European Union law, and most of its biggest users are banks from Western Europe and the United States. So while no government owns SWIFT, the countries with the most financial influence can pressure it, shape it, and steer its decisions. This is why SWIFT often becomes the switch in sanctions. On, a country is connected. Off, a country is financially isolated.
A certain number of Russian banks are removed from SWIFT. This will ensure that these banks are disconnected from the international financial system and harm their ability to operate globally.
The problem that the European Union has, and to a lesser extent the US, is that Russia is developing its own sort of parallel system to SWIFT. And of course, if you take Russia out of the SWIFT system, it will simply seek to develop its own system along with China and become a competitor to SWIFT.
A nation doesn't need to lose its banks or its currency to be crippled. It only needs to lose access to SWIFT. For decades, SWIFT was invisible. Then the world learned what happens when the plug gets pulled. When Iran was cut off from SWIFT in 2012, its oil exports collapsed almost overnight. Foreign income vanished, and inflation surged across the country like a financial chokehold. North Korea, already isolated from most of the world, was forced even deeper into shadow banking, relying on cash couriers, illicit transfers, and black market channels just to move money beyond its borders. And when Russia was disconnected in 2022, major banks were ejected from the network. Billions in reserves were frozen in foreign accounts, the ruble plunged in value, and global markets shook as the shockwave rippled across continents. No missiles, no tanks, just a digital blackout, and a nation left gasping for financial air. SWIFT was built to connect the world, but its ability to disconnect entire nations is where its true power lies. cutting a country off from SWIFT can mean no access to global banking, no ability to import food, fuel, or medicine, frozen currency, collapsed trade, economic freefall, and the cruel reality: ordinary people suffer long before governments do. Power at this level never goes unchallenged. Countries began searching for exits, alternative doors into global finance. China built CIPS, a rival network that routes payments through the yuan. Russia created SPFS as its emergency backup system. India, Brazil, and Gulf nations are exploring their own cross-border payment frameworks. Crypto offers a SWIFT-free alternative, at least in theory. Around the world, governments are asking, should one network have the ability to unplug an entire nation? And who decides when that happens? As geopolitical tensions rise, SWIFT is becoming more than infrastructure. It's a battlefield, a bargaining chip, a silent weapon. The US and EU use it to enforce sanctions. China wants to reshape the global system. Russia wants independence. Developing nations want guarantees. Crypto threatens to rewrite the rules, because in the modern world, the most powerful weapon isn't military, it's financial, and SWIFT holds a trigger. We think of power as something visible: presidents, armies, corporations, but the most powerful systems are the ones we never see. SWIFT is the invisible network that keeps the global economy alive. It connects the world, and it can disconnect the world. The next conflict won't be fought with bombs or bullets. It will be fought with access, isolation, and the ability to control money itself. If you enjoyed this deep dive, give the video a like, subscribe for more, and, as always, stay curious.